Fire TV Sticks and on ZingoTV on Chromecast and all smart TVs 2016 forward. Please remember to download the Barn Burner and ZingoTV apps in their respective app stores. Both are free on both iOS and Android devices. Please remember to rate and leave a comment while you're using our app so we know that you're enjoying them and getting the most out of your usage. So let's get into it. For this week, it's more or less an episode of the World Juniors experience, as the IIHF World Juniors are just a couple days away. Exhibition games start on the 20th. So right now, all teams have touched down in Edmonton and are partaking in a 4-day quarantine and must test negative for 5 days consecutively before they hit the ice. So we're going to get really into that in just a little bit. However, I do want to touch on the one minor thing that's going on in the Ontario Hockey League right now as a result of that. So before we do that, again, there are just a couple small OHL notes that I should get out of the way. So the first one is Chase Stillman, whose father is Corey Stillman, assistant coach of the Sudbury Wolves. He was announced yesterday by the Arizona Coyotes and general manager Bill Armstrong that he has joined the Arizona Coyotes as an assistant coach. So as per club policy, terms of the contract were not disclosed. In a statement from Armstrong, he said of Corey, "We are very pleased to have Corey join Rick Toche's coaching staff. Corey was a great player who won back-to-back Stanley Cups during his career. He's a very good coach who has a strong work ethic and a passion for the game. I'm confident that our players and staff will benefit from his knowledge, insight, and expertise." Stillman joins the Coyotes from the Sudbury Wolves, where he served as the team's head coach since 2017. He compiled a 94, 89, and 16 record over those 3 seasons with Sudbury. In a statement from Corey, he said, this is from Rick Toche, the head coach, rather. "I'm very pleased to add Corey to our coaching staff. Corey is a hard worker, a good communicator, and a winner. His experience and knowledge of the game will be invaluable to our team. I'm excited to work with him." Now, Corey, being a 46-year-old native of Peterborough, Ontario, previously spent time with the Carolina Hurricanes as their director of development for 5 seasons. He also worked in player development with the Florida Panthers following his playing career. In a statement from Corey Stillman, he said, "I'm excited to join Rick Toche's coaching staff and the Coyotes organization. The Coyotes are a team on the rise. We have 2 elite goaltenders, some great young talent, and a solid group of veteran players. I'm looking forward to meeting the coaching staff and our players, and I can't wait to get started." Stillman totaled a record of 278, 449, and 727 in over 1,000 career NHL games as a forward with the Calgary Flames, St. Louis Blues, Tampa Bay Lightning, Carolina Hurricanes, Ottawa Senators, and Florida Panthers. He won back-to-back Stanley Cups in 2003 and 2004 with Tampa Bay, then 2005, 2006 with the Carolina Hurricanes. Corey was originally drafted by Calgary in the first round, 6th overall back in the 1992 National Hockey League entry draft. For more information on this deal, please visit nhl.com/coyotes. Really exciting day for the Stillman family. His son still has 1 more season to go, I believe, with the Sudbury Wolves of the Ontario Hockey League, but an exciting day for Corey Stillman, who wraps up saying, "I enjoyed my time in Sudbury, learned a lot along the way, and now look forward to a new beginning with the Arizona Coyotes." So again, really exciting time as Corey now makes the shift over. And we see this quite a lot, actually, in terms of coaches who start to move and, progress. And it's not just players when it comes to the Ontario Hockey League. And I think that's really important to note. So the next thing, now we know that the Hamilton Bulldogs have a plan in place with their local development team for a brand new facility to essentially be reworked through the facility they're already in. It will be reshaped and it will become the center of the city of Hamilton. So to go along with their new look, which is said to be done over the next course of the next couple seasons, they wanted a new look themselves, as they start to head into, a new era of Hamilton Bulldogs hockey, and into a new era once the COVID-19 pandemic starts to slow down and we start to get back to our normal and get fans in the building and get junior hockey back to the way it was supposed to be. So that being said, they announced just a couple days ago, this was on December 11th, a brand new look for the new year with a brand new jersey known as their Stealth third jersey. So the release from the Ontario Hockey League sounds a little bit like this. It has been revealed for the last few weeks. Project Stealth has been anticipated by Bulldogs fans, and for the past few months, it has been worked on throughout the Bulldogs organization. A new look for a new year with our Stealth third jersey. Now, Hamilton Bulldogs president and general manager Steve Staios proudly announced, "We wanted this to represent our city and our team moving into 2021 on a clean slate. The challenges of 2020 have been numerous and has affected everyone in our community. And as we look towards new opportunities in 2021, the Bulldogs are excited to embrace a new canvas, new beginnings, and a readiness to shake things up." Staios continued, "We wanted to have something really exciting for you, the fans, in 2021. Our stealth jerseys will represent our philosophy on the ice, on and off the ice, characterizing our swiftness, velocity, and strategy, be it for plays, decisions, or new opportunities. We decided to try something new in this design and use black and white sublimation, and rather than restricted to one color, we've got the static gray and white combo to trim this stealth look." Now, the players have already started taking pictures of that, and it looks really, really good, I must say. Mackenzie Entwistle was one of them. Going on to further explain this logo, Bulldogs fans have embraced our standing Bulldog logo, which you've seen as a patch on our shoulders, on our warm-up jerseys, and on hats, shirts, sweaters, and more. With the support of this logo, we've decided it was time to make it the face of one of our main jerseys. As a nod to our helmets will carry a logo from the AHL Bulldogs era, saluting those who came before us and laid the groundwork for our championship success. Team president and general manager Steve Staios also wanted to calm fears surrounding our current popular Hamilton Bulldogs or Tigers era third jersey, stating, "Don't worry, I know how much you love the Hamilton Tigers jerseys. They will still be with us moving forward." Key members of our 2018 OHL championship team, Nick Camano and second captain in franchise history, Mackenzie Entwistle, were so proud to be a part of unveiling the new look for the team, feeling it was their duty to pass the torch to the next group of champions the Bulldogs are developing. Bulldogs fans can purchase the new stealth jerseys at bulldogshop.com right in time for Christmas. So, anyways, for a video explanation of this new look, the Hamilton Bulldogs released a video from President and GM Steve Staios, who gives the details on the newest third jersey. So just a little bit of a rundown there. That being said, let's take a look now at the World Juniors, as most of this episode is going to be. But actually, before that, we're going to get into something that perhaps was a little bit expected. I mean, this was only bound to be the case due to the novel coronavirus still marking up record numbers in both Alberta and now Ontario. So that being said, the Western Hockey League announced yesterday it will delay the start of the 2020-21 WHL regular season, and following further consultation with regional health authorities, the Board of Governors will meet in January to consider potential start dates. With public health restrictions in place across Western Canada and the Pacific Northwest US, the WHL is not in a position to start its regular season as planned on January 8th. The WHL will continue to work with government and health authorities in our region as we consider schedule options for the 2020-21 WHL regular season. The WHL has developed a series of protocols in consultation with health authorities that are necessary to protect WHL players, staff, officials, and fans during the COVID-19 pandemic. In a statement from Rob Robinson, commissioner of the WHL, he said, "We continue to make every effort to get our season started, but our first priority has always been the health and safety of our players and everyone associated with the WHL. Given the public health restrictions that are currently in effect, we are not in a position to determine a new target date for our season. We will continue to consult with health authorities to determine when it is safe and responsible to get our season started." Now, the WHL is not the only one who's in a looming position, as the Ontario Hockey League continues to ask questions as to what their season will look like. Again, there's a current plan in place to get them started by beginning of February. However, given the rapid progression of the novel coronavirus, chances are the season might be pushed even further. However, the COVID-19 vaccine has finally touched down in Canada thanks to Pfizer and BioNTech. So, we might start seeing a difference by the time they're able to drop the puck. Again, this is based on studies that have been conducted by Canada Health. And the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is set to touch down here sometime rather shortly after approval. It could be a matter of 48 hours. And again, projections say it could be by February we start to see a difference, late January, early February. So again, we're going to have to wait and see, but it's getting out. It's everywhere now. Thanks to UPS, who was contracted on this mission from Cologne, Germany to Kalamazoo, Michigan, to get these vaccines out and into the right hands to get started. They started off with only a couple doses in every country, in every city, with only like 5 people, let's say, per hospital. But once it's out on a big scale, we'll find out what that means for the athletes. We'll find out what that means for the OHL's conflicting roles of the government about body checking should the athletes be able to get it, and we'll have to go from that point forward. So that being said, that really wraps up the OHL segment of this episode. So or almost wraps it up. I mean that as we go into the World Juniors now, where honestly we're gonna start to see how teams across the World Juniors are really impacted by OHL players. I think this is really fantastic. Seeing how many current and past players will be taking part. So that being said, let's delve right into this because again, IIHF World Juniors are just a few days away from getting underway their exhibition play, of course. So that being said, there are some who are underlined, meaning returning. The italicized on the list by the OntarioHockeyLeague.com means players who graduated from the OHL prior to the 2019-20 season, and the asterisk means players committed to the OHL for the 2020-21 season. So that being said, current player includes Marco Rossi from the Ottawa 67s. Returning players include from Team Canada, who has 8 players, Quinton Byfield, Jamie Drysdale, and Connor McMichael. Byfield from the Sudbury Wolves, Drysdale from the Erie Otters, and McMichael from the London Knights. Now, current players include Thomas Harley from the Mississauga Steelheads, Cole Perfetti from the Saginaw Spirit, Jack Quinn from the Ottawa 67s, Ryan Suzuki from the Saginaw Spirit, and Philip Tomasino from the Oshawa Generals. Now, let's move on. The Czech Republic has 4 players. Martin Hess from the Guelph Storm, who is a returner, Nick Malik, a returner from the Sioux Greyhounds, Jan Mysick, a returner from the Hamilton Bulldogs, and Dromer Pitlick, a returner from the Sioux Greyhounds. Finland has 2. Kari Peroinen from the Windsor Spitfires is a returning player, and Ruben Rafkin, a current player for the Windsor Spitfires. Now, let's move on to Germany. Manuel Alberg from the Owen Sound Attack is a current player for them. Philip Reisnicker from the Mississauga Steelheads, he's a current player. Josh Szymanski from the Owen Sound Attack, also a current player. Now, Russia, current players, Igor Afanaseyev from the Windsor Spitfires and Daniel Chaika from the Guelph Storm. Now, for Slovakia, they've got Martin Chromiak from the Kingston Frontenacs. He is a current player. Dominic Jendik, who is a returning player and at the same time is just set to make his debut in the OHL with the Sudbury Wolves. And David Mudrick, who is also a returning player and set to make his debut with the Oshawa Generals. Now, Team Switzerland has Giancarlo Chanton currently with the Niagara Ice Dogs, Noah Delmont, who is set to make his debut with the Owen Sound Attack, and Brian Zanetti, who is set to make his debut with the Peterborough Petes. The United States has a returner in Arthur Kaliev, who is a prospect of the Los Angeles Kings and is a current member of the Hamilton Bulldogs returning, and Hunter Skinner from the London Knights, who replaces Drew Comesso and the gang that was sent home after Boston University failed to give permission to allow those players to take part in the World Junior Selection Camp in Plymouth, Michigan. So for more on the World Juniors, continuing coverage of the 2021 IIHF World Juniors, more information can be found at the IIHF.com. So that being said, let's really get into the rosters now because that is the most important part of this, obviously. And then I will get into the tournament schedule shortly thereafter. So again, there are previews and all sorts of stuff to get into, but let's touch on this first. So Team Canada's final roster, and they will hit the ice starting December 18th, which is Friday, to prepare for the tournament, and they will play their first game December the 26th. Their roster looks like this. Dylan Garand from the Kamloops Blazers, Taylor Gauthier from the Prince George Cougars, Devin Levy, who's from Northeastern University, Justin Barron from the Halifax Mooseheads, Bowen Byram from the Vancouver Giants, Jamie Drysdale from the Erie Otters, Caden Gooley from the Prince Albert Raiders, Thomas Harley from the OHL's Mississauga Steelheads, Caden Korczak from the Kelowna Rockets, Braden Schneider from the Brandon Wheat Kings, Jordan Spence from the Moncton Wildcats, Quinton Byfield from the Sudbury Wolves, Dylan Cousins from the Lethbridge Hurricanes, Kirby Dock from the Chicago Blackhawks, Dylan Holloway from the Wisconsin Badgers in the NCAA, Peyton Krebs from the Winnipeg Ice, Connor McMichael from the London Knights, Dawson Mercer from the Chicoutimi Saguenayens, Alex Newhook from Boston College, Jacob Pelletier from the Val d'Or Fouriers, Cole Perfetti from the OHL Saginaw Spirit, Jack Quinn from the OHL's Ottawa 67s, Ryan Suzuki from the OHL's Saugon of Spirit, Philip Tomasino from the OHL's Oshawa Generals, and Connor Zari from the Kamloops Blazers. So really quality roster put together by head coach Andre Torini. And it's really important to note that this roster is made up of 20 first-round picks. Now, the New York Rangers refused to release Alexis Lafreniere to play in the upcoming championship. So, it kind of sucks, but Canada's not really hit hard by this as a result. So something to keep in mind as we start to move forward. Now, let's take a look now at the full tournament schedule and what that's going to look like for every day moving into this. All games can be found on TSN and RDS, as well as TSN Direct, and can be found across TSN Radio. So on December 20th, we see Team Switzerland and Team USA kicking things off at 6 p.m. Eastern Time in Edmonton at Rogers Place, followed by the Czech Republic and Team Finland at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on December the 21st, we see the first set of day games with Germany playing Austria at 2 p.m., Sweden versus Canada at 6 p.m., Slovakia versus Russia at 9:30 p.m. And then on December 22nd, we see two games, the USA and Finland at 6 p.m. and Sweden versus Switzerland at 9:30 p.m. Now, December 23rd looks like this. We're going to see Austria and Slovakia at 2 p.m. We're going to see Russia versus Canada at 6 p.m. Germany versus the Czech Republic will round out the night at 9:30 p.m. Now, the preliminary round begins on December 25th, and that will progress to the gold medal game, which will air on NHL Network in the United States, and that looks like this. Now, sorry, I'm just going to mention that, but anyways, moving onwards with the schedule. December 25th looks again like this, being Switzerland and Slovakia, Germany and Finland, Russia and the US. December 26th includes Sweden and Czech Republic, Germany and Canada, USA and Austria. December 27th means Finland and Switzerland, Slovakia and Canada, and Czech Republic and US. December 28th, we're going to see Austria and Sweden. Then we'll see Slovakia and Germany at 6 and 9:30 respectively. And then on December 29th at 2 p.m., we're going to see USA and Czech. Then we're going to see at 6 Canada and Switzerland. And then at 9:30, we're going to see Austria and Russia. On December 30th, we're going to see Finland and Slovakia. And that's at 2, Switzerland and Germany at 6, and Russia and Sweden at 9:30. On December 31st, we're going to see Czech and Austria at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Then we're going to see Canada and Finland at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And then at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, then the evening gets rounded out from Sweden and the USA. Now, the quarterfinals, obviously, yet to be determined. The only thing that is determined is the time slot reserved for Team Canada. So that being said, quarterfinal 1 will be 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and quarterfinal 2 will be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Quarterfinal 3 will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, reserved for Canada. And quarterfinal 4 will be at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, this is Edmonton, Alberta, so it'll be late here, but it'll be 7 p.m. there, 7:30 that is. Now, the semifinals look like this. Reserved for Team Canada is a 6 p.m. Eastern Time slot, then a 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time slot for semifinal 2. Now, the medal round will look like this. The bronze medal game will take place on January 5th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and the gold medal game at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And that is after, again, the semifinals on January 4th and the quarterfinals on January 2nd. So a lot to work out from this very complex schedule. Again, a lot of to be determines as this tournament is yet to play out. We're going to see how it all works out. I've spoken with Nick Gismondi. I've spoken with a couple others. I spoke with Craig Button, who I guess rightfully so projected Canada and Russia for the gold medal game. So, there's something to sit on. In terms of Team Canada, Nick Gismondi spoke really highly of Kirby Dach on the Puck Authority podcast. So again, a lot of different things to keep in mind. Craig Button was super insightful on the most recent episode of the Puck Authority podcast. You can find that at thepuckauthority.com or wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Music as well as on Spotify. So that being said, let's take a look at the final rosters now as we start to cross off and get closer to the exhibition games in Edmonton. So the final roster for the U.S. national team looks like this. Matthew Beignet, Bobby Brink, Sam Colangelo, Patrick Moynihan, Brett Berard, Brendan Breeson, John Farinacci, Landon Slaggert, Trevor Zegras, Matthew Boldy, Cole Caulfield, Arthur Kaliev, Alex Turcotte. The defense is Brock Faber, Drew Hellison, Ryan Johnson, Tyler Clevin, Jackson Lacombe, Jake Sanderson, Hunter Skinner, and Henry Thrun, and that's rounded out by Cam York. Goalies are Spencer Knight, Logan Stein, and Dustin Wolf. Logan Stein takes over for Drew Comesso again, who was not cleared to play in this tournament. We are seeing that there are other universities who failed to clear players out of COVID concern. For Team Canada, Owen Power was not cleared from the University of Michigan to take part, as well as with the NCAA season underway. A lot of looming questions there. So again, the U.S. Gets started on December the 25th, which is Christmas Day. And Christmas might look a little bit different this year. We're at the 16th and there's no snow on the ground. There has been snow on the ground, but right now there isn't. So the World Juniors usually means we see snow on the ground by the time puck drop starts. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like here, what that looks like in Edmonton. A colder spot in Canada. So the Slovak roster traveling to Edmonton, courtesy of Samuel Turpak, and it's a 30-player roster after 5 more cuts were made, and all the players from 2004 are in. So the roster looks like this. Samuel Halavaj, again, apologies if I'm saying some of these names wrong, Patrick Kozel, Simon Lakachi, and Eugene Rabkin. The defensemen are Simon Bakar, Andre Golian, Simon Grock, Mattis Slavich, Samuel Nazco, David Mudrick, Simon Niemak, Rayan Petrovicki, Marco Stacha, and Oliver Turin. The forwards are Robert Bacco, Martin Kromiak, Michael Drivek, Jura Jelias, Roman Faith, Maron Jedlicka, Simon Jealous, Dominic Jendik, Mate Kazlik, Jakub Kolinek, Philip Mazar, Mikhail Mrazek, Alexei Mikluha, Juraj Slavkovsky, Dominik Sochka, and Artur Turansky. Again, apologies for names I did not properly pronounce. Not really totally my field with international players. But anyways, do note that 2 of these players are NHL drafted, a couple of them in the OHL. And that again includes Martin Kromiak and Jendek, who is set to make his debut with the Sudbury Wolves. So that's the Slovak roster. Now, that being said, we are going to take a look at some other rosters. I just have to pull up a couple of them as the Czech roster is now official as well. We're starting to really see this rounded out. But in the meantime, I will note that for Team Canada, it was really special how they got their phone calls for the World Juniors. Their families were put on the phone from head coach Andre Turini and the leadership group out there in Red Deer, including Senior Director of National Team Scott Salmond. And so that was really special. However, for Kirby Dach, it wasn't family. It was Brent Seabrook, his teammate from the Chicago Blackhawks, which I thought was really special and actually really heartwarming as someone who he looked up to and worked with in Chicago a lot, worked closely with. So I thought that was, something really special and something to behold and something to remember, especially for Dach, who again makes it an appearance this year after questions loomed about his status given the NHL season, which we now know will begin, or at least is slated to begin, on the 13th of January. So before I get into some more complex IIHF stuff, I do want to touch on this if I can find it, which is the roster for the Czech Republic. So bear with me for just a minute if you would. But again, I will get into some quotes from Team Canada's last round of press conferences. But again, practices are starting to be held at Rogers Place in Edmonton in just a couple days' time. But for now, make sure you are staying tuned to thepuckauthority.com for everything that you need to know about the World Junior Championship and the Puck Authority podcast. Now, something else I will mention on the USA hockey side is Drew Comesso and that group were not the only ones to be denied for the World Juniors by their school. Johnny Beecher was sent home after a positive COVID-19 test. And this is what his father told the Boston Globe, which ended his stay at Team USA camp in Plymouth, Michigan. However, that being said, 4 hours later, once he got back to campus to wrap up his stuff before going home for the holidays, he took another test and it was a false positive. So he ended up testing negative, and begs the question that, we get that USA hockey, much like all other groups, they don't want to risk a positive test and have that force their teams into quarantine. But these things unfortunately happen, and they can happen with the COVID tests. They're not always perfectly accurate. And so, again, really unfortunate. So he was sent home with Thomas Bordelot, who was cut from the roster. So again, this stuff can happen. It sucks, but it is what it is. So that being said, let's now get into Team Finland's roster, which has been set and provided to us courtesy of EliteProspects.com. So it looks like this: Joel Blomqvist, Kari Peroinen, Rupe Taponen are the goaltenders. Now the defensemen are Santeri Hataka, Ville Heinola, Mikko Kokkonen, Topi Namila, Kasper Putio, Ruben Raskin, Matthias Regeniemi, and Emil Vuro. Now, the forwards are Samuel Helenius, Roni Hervonen, Robbie Gerventi, Benjamin Korkinen, Brad Lambert, Anton Lundell, Matthias Mentikivi, Henry Nikkanen, Mikko Petman, Petteri Puhaka, Mikhail Pihita or Pidia, Juuso Parsinen, Aku Ratti, and Kasper Simon Taival. So again, apologies to those whose names were not properly pronounced, but we do see a couple familiar names here, including Brad Lambert, Anton Lundell, Ville Heinola, and Mikko Kokkonen. So that is the roster for Team Finland. So again, all final rosters are now in place. That being said, as noted by Amanda Stein, 5 NJ Devils prospects are at the 2021 World Juniors. So that being said, we see Mukama Dolan is there, as well as Gritsuk, and that looks like for the Czech Republic. Or sorry, that's not actually the Czech Republic. Apologies. For Team Canada, we see Dawson Mercer. This is for the Czech Republic, and that's Dromer Pitlick. And for the U.S. is Moynihan. So lot of interesting notes continue to be had and circulate ahead of the World Juniors. Speaking of interesting notes, and as it affects Team USA, again, with Johnny Beecher and Thomas Bordelot sent home for different reasons, another name who won't participate in the World Junior tournament is Nick Robertson of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs told USA Hockey weeks ago that his availability was tied to the timing of NHL training camps, much like Alexis Lafreniere and Kirby Dach for Team Canada. So with those now set to open on January 3rd, Robertson has been told he's staying in Toronto and preparing for the upcoming season. So, it's a complex time because we have to get, an understanding that this is not normal. This should not be happening like this. And the NHL, we all thought was going to be happening a little bit later on, and the NHL is still working as we speak to finalize for protocols and details on how the season is going to go. There are some teams who will not be playing out of their home ice, meaning teams like San Jose might even be playing out of Arizona, as was something that was circulating just a couple of days ago. So lots of questions about how this works out. So just something to consider. Now, for the Toronto Maple Leafs, the prospects that they are sending are Artur Akyamov, Mikhail Abramov, and Rodion Amirov being selected for Russia hockey at the World Juniors. Anyways, speaking of which, let's take a look at Team Russia's roster now. I'm just going to pull that up if it allows me to do so. But Rodion Amirov is someone who played for Team Russia at the Russia-Canada series against teams OHL, WHL, and QMJHL last year through the month of November. So that being said, let's take a look at what Russia's roster looks like. So now, the last update, of course, was on the 12th of December. It's now the 16th. This is the 25-man roster announced as the final by the Russian Ice Hockey Federation. Official registration, meaning check-in, is December 24th, but all teams again have checked in. So this is what their roster looks like. Artur Akyamov, Yaroslav Askarov, who is up for top pick in the NHL entry draft this year, and a member of SK St. Petersburg in the KHL. And then that's rounded out by Vsevolod Skotnikov from CSK Moscow in the KHL. Now, the defensemen look like this. Roman Bykov, Daniel Chaika, Semyon Chisyakov, Kirill Kirsanov, Artemy Niazev, Jan Kuznetsov from the University of Connecticut, Shakir Mukhamadullin, a prospect of the New Jersey Devils, and was Salavat Yuayev UFA, Yegor Shekhotsov, and then the forwards look like this. Mikhail Abramov from the Victoria Tigers of the QMJHL, Yegor Afanaseyev from CSK Moscow, Rodin Namirov from Salavat Ulayev UFA, Zakhar Bardakov, Daniel Bashkarov, Yegor Chinikov, Vladislav Firstov, Arseny Gritsyak, Maxim Groshev, Marat Kuznetsov, Vasily Podkolzin, a familiar name to many, Vasily Ponomaryov from the Shawinigan Cataractus of the QMJHL, Ilya Stefanov, and Yegor Spiridonov. The head coach is Igor Larionov. Now, we've gotten into that, so let's get into Team Sweden now. Now, Philip Broberg from the Edmonton Oilers, prospect of their organization, has been named to Team Sweden for the tournament. And now, Team Sweden has faced a really complex situation, as since the last time I was on this show last Wednesday, Team Sweden was at home for selection camp, and they lost 4 players and 3 coaches, including their head coach. So that left one coach still with the team, and that was the assistant coach. Now, as a result of that, a new coach was named for the tournament as the head coach to join. And so you understand the complexities of this situation and the fact that there actually aren't supposed to be, after a certain date, new coaches or players joining for the tournament. However, again, with no head coach, that left them with no option but to assign a new head coach. So that's what happened, and we're going to delve more into that with the reading of Team Sweden's roster. So apologies. That being said, let's get right into it. So actually, before that, I'll make a note about this. I did read out Team Canada's roster to begin with. So in noting that Dylan Holloway, a prospect of the Edmonton Oilers, again, was named to Team Canada. So that being said, Dylan Holloway made the main group after the 14-day quarantine for Team Canada. And with that, I should also note that Dylan Holloway, Alex Newhook, and Devin Levy were skating in a small NCAA group during their quarantine wait out to join the main group. But that being said, they were noted as impressive by Hockey Canada Management Group lead Alan Miller. And the Oilers prospect said the isolated sessions that he had with his fellow college forward at the start of camp were great for developing chemistry, especially as both have made the final roster. So as that pertains to Philip Broberg, who was someone who has played in North American hockey just a little bit, something somewhat the same of a situation, but the chemistry maybe not so much, with not a whole lot of familiar names, only a couple throughout their entire roster. So that being said, let's get into it. The goaltenders are Hugo Alnefelt, Cal Klang, Jesper Wallstedt, again, who is supposed to be someone who is a familiar name for this year's NHL draft. Then the defensemen are Emil Andre, Gustav Berglund, Tobias Bjornfoot, Alex Branstam Djurgården, again, Philip Broberg, who is playing with Skellefteå AIK, Ludvig Hedstrom, Albert Johansson from Farjestad Karlstad, Victor Soderstrom from AIK Stockholm, and the forwards look like this. Oscar Bierselius from Djurgården Stockholm, Arvid Kostmar, Noel Gunler, another familiar name, Emil Heinemann from Leksands IF in the SDHL, or I think that's within the SDHL, as long as I believe both the women and men compete in that league. I might be mistaken. Simon Holmstrom, Alexander Holtz, another top name, New Jersey Devils prospect, Oscar Gavitz, Brinus Gavla, and that being said, Theodore Niederbach follows, as well as Zion Nybeck, Oscar Alderson, Lucas Raymond, a familiar name, Elmer Soderblom from Frölunda Gothenburg, Albin Sudsvik from Skellefteå AIK, and Jonathan Wilkstrom from HV71 Jönköping. So the head coach is Joel Ronmark. So again, let's continue going through the rosters. We are not quite done. We do know that there was one positive test on Team Switzerland. However, that being said, their roster is pretty much just about set. So I'm going to try and pronounce these names again as properly as I possibly can. So the goaltenders are Thibault Fatten, Andre Henauer, Noah Patinode, and he's with the St. John Sea Dogs in the QMJHL. And in the Swiss League with SC Bern under a legendary general manager is Andre Henauer. So that being said, the defensemen are Inaki Baragano with Lausanne HC, Giancarlo Chanton with SC Langenthal, Noah Delamont with EHCBL, Cedric Fiedler from the Western Michigan University in the NCAA, then Bastian Guggenheim, Noah Meyer, Rocco Pizzulo, Alessandro Villa, Nathan Vuardo, Brian Zanetti, forwards Dario Allenspack, Jeremy Barchi, Attilo Biasca, Stefano Bottini, Mika Burkhalter, Lorenzo Canonicha, Ronnie Dowler, Keanu Derangs, Raymond Fust, Valentin Hofer, Gaten Jobin, Seaman Knack, Lionel Marchand, Joel Salzgeber, and Elvis Schlapfer. The head coach is Marco Bayer. So again, most of these rosters now perfectly set in place. And for the head coach of the U.S., it's Nate Lehman, by the way, as I didn't mention that. Nate Lehman spoke with NHL Network yesterday. And so finally, that being said, there's one more roster, and that is the Czech Republic. So or two more rosters, being Czech Republic and Germany. So I'm going to read these out, and then I'm going to touch on some last minute notes, and that should take us to the end of this week's episode. So that being said, let's get into the Czech Republic's roster, which looks like this: Jan Bednar, Nick Malik, and Lucas Perek. The defense includes Martin Haas, David Jiracek, Karel Klikorka, Michael Krutil, Simon Kubacek, Radek Kucherek, Daniel Poisel, Jiri Surata, and Stanislav Svozil. The forwards are Martin Baranek, Mikhail Gut, Philip Kofer, Martin Lang, Radek Muzik, Jan Mysek from the Hamilton Bulldogs, and H.C. Litvinov, Adam Najman, Pavel Novak, Philip Prickrell, Andre Sanika, and that's from the Waterloo Blackhawks of the USHL. Dromer Pitlick, we know is from the Sioux Greyhounds of the OHL, and currently Stadion Litomirici. Again, if I pronounce that properly. Adam Raska, Jacob Richlovsky, Mikhail Tepley, Matej Tomin, David Vatuch, and the head coach is Karl Malenik. So the last roster on note is Team Germany, last updated on the 13th of December. The 25-man roster was announced as final by the team, and official registration again on the 24th of December. So the roster looks like this. Goaltenders are Florian Bugel, Jonas Gar, and Arno Tifanisi, and that's from Adler Mannheim. Now, defensemen are Lucas Flade, Maximilian Glotzel, Simon Nip, Nicholas Langer, Luca Munzenberger, Stephen Rabi, Maximilian Zuber, and Mario Zimmerman. The forwards are Manuel Alberg, Jacob Borchecki, Julian Krobot, Samuel Dubé, Florian Elias, Enrico Henriquez Morales, Jan Nehenius, John Paterka, Philip Reisnicker, Joshua Szymanski from the Owen Sound Attack in the Ontario Hockey League, Gianluca Schumacher, Marcus Schwager, Tim Stutzel, who is officially on the roster. Again, he was a top pick of the Ottawa Senators in this year's NHL entry draft, and Justin Volek. The head coach is Tobias Abstreiter. So apologies, there's one last roster, and that's Team Austria, whose roster I was unable to find on Twitter. So that roster looks like this. The goaltenders are Jacob Brander, Leon Sommer, Sebastian Ranischitz, the defensemen are Jonas Kutzer, Louise Lindner, Moritz Moles, Lucas Necessani, Timo Pellier, Jacob Pfeffer, Bernard Posch, Nicholas Wetzel, Philip Wimmer. The forwards are Matthias Baum, Tim Harnisch, Maximilian Hengelmuller, Fabian Hoshager, Marco Kasper, Clemens Cranes, Julian Poschenwien, Santa Peters, Marco Rossi from the Ottawa 67s and currently the ZSC Lions in Zurich, Lucas Toller, Maximilian Tariq, Marlon Schofen, Dominic Unterweger, Finn Van E, and Leon Waller. The head coach is Roger Batter. So that takes you through the rosters for the IIHF World Juniors Championship this year. So that being said, let's get into something a little more perhaps on the complex side of things. So that being said, we do know that there were some complexities in getting every team out here to Edmonton, Alberta for the 2021 World Juniors. So that being said, the IIHF sent a plane to Vienna Airport to pick up teams Finland, Austria, and Russia. However, due to social distancing concerns, the teams had a meeting together and refused to get on the plane if their luggage was on the same plane, because that would mean social distancing was not possible. And we are in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic, and all teams wanted to make the right call and wanted to be safe and not risk the health and safety of one another. So that being said, after a meeting, that is exactly what they did. They refused to get on the plane. And then after that, they spoke with the IIHF, and the IIHF agreed to send a cargo plane for just the luggage alone. And then that ensured social distancing. So all three teams got on the plane. Social distancing worked, and they are now all here in Edmonton, Alberta, for the World Juniors. So those again are teams Finland, Austria, and Russia. Now, all teams that are taking part in the World Juniors, all 10 teams are now, like I said at the beginning of the show, taking part in a 4-day quarantine, and they have their own hotel rooms for each player. Do note several hotels, and they must now take 5 negative tests before they can hit the ice for the start of preliminary skates before their exhibition games get underway. So just a couple notes to touch on there. This is a very complex situation, and they tried to make the best of the situation given the many complexities of that. So doing their best in order to do so. Again, they were able to pull off a safe arrival, which I think is really crucial. So that being said, I think we're going to wrap up today's show taking a look at the cuts for Team Canada and the post press conference of that after the final decisions were made. So that being said, let's take a look at those cuts. So as per Stephen Ellis of the Hockey News, he listed those players in a tweet. So those are Seth Jarvis, Maverick Bork, Samuel Poulin, Jameson Reese, Graham Clark, Gage Consalvis, then the defensemen are Donovan Sabrango of the Kitchener Rangers, Lucas Cormier, and Ryan O'Rourke of the Sioux Greyhounds. So those are the players taken out. Given the players who are there with Team Canada in Edmonton for the World Juniors, of the team's 22 skaters, 20 are first-round picks, including all 14 forwards, in addition to just the first-round pick thing alone. So let's take a look now at some of those who made it. So Sabres prospect Jack Quinn, as per Mark Masters, had never been invited to a Hockey Canada camp before this year. Now the Ottawa 67 sniper isn't just on the World Junior team, but he's the highest goal scorer among the group with 52 in the OHL last season in 62 games played with Ottawa. So something to really behold, and something that we can expect excellence out of perhaps come the World Juniors when they really get underway. So that being said, let's continue to delve into some other notes. Mark Masters says, of the 25 players on Team Canada, 5 have played league games this season, being Dylan Holloway, Jacob Pelletier, Jordan Spence, Justin Barron, and Dawson Mercer. And those are with the start of the NCAA and QMJHL, respectively. 5 were in the NHL bubble this summer, and those are Kirby Dock, Thomas Harley, Connor McMichael, Peyton Krebs, and Bowen Byram. So Bowen Byram was there with Colorado. Thomas Harley was there with Dallas. Connor McMichael was there with Washington, just to name a few. So for the second straight year, Sudbury centerman Quinton Byfield is the youngest player on Team Canada. The other 18-year-olds on the roster are Dylan Garand, who made the roster over Tristan Lennox, Jamie Drysdale, Caden Gooley, and Cole Perfetti, who turns 19 on New Year's Day, something really special for him, taking part in this year's World Juniors. Now, in a statement from Dylan Holloway upon cracking Hockey Canada's roster, he said, "It's an unbelievable feeling. Growing up, World Juniors at Christmas time was the biggest deal ever, so being able to play in that is an absolute dream come true." He says his parents got to tell him via video chat that he made the team on the phone of head coach Andre Tollier and the senior national team director, Scott Salmond. So, now, redemption for 7 players who were cut at last year's selection camp and vowed to make Team Canada in 2021, as noted by Mark Masters. Thomas Harley, who was sent home last year after selection camp in Oakville. Dylan Holloway, Peyton Krebs, Alex Newhook, Cole Perfetti, Braden Schneider, and Connor Zary. Now, Connor Zary is really highly thought of by head coach Andre Tourigny. He's been playing with Philip Tomasino and Kirby Dach, and that line, he said, has been the most impressive at camp so far. So, that being said, let's continue. Colorado Avalanche lead the way with 3 prospects on Team Canada, being Bowen Byram, Justin Barron, and Alex Newhook. And then the Calgary Flames have Pelletier and Zary. The Vegas Golden Knights have Krebs and Korczak. The Los Angeles Kings have Byfield and Spence. The New York Rangers have Garand and Schneider. They would have had Lafreniere, but they opted not to send him. And the Buffalo Sabres have Cousins and Quinn. So all of them are tied at 2. So that being said, there's not a whole lot more to touch on with final details pretty much in place to this point. So I'm just going to round out today's episode by reading off a couple quotes from the post-roster announcement press conference. So in a statement from Alan Miller from the Program of Excellence Lead Management Group, he said, "I'd like to acknowledge and thank the 21 young men that were at the selection camp that did not make our final roster. This group of players gives our coaching balance and a lot of flexibility on how to utilize the roster." Now, Andre Tourigny also spoke with him on the familiarity of the players from last year's camp, which he was with Dale Hunter at in Oakville, and said, "We evaluated what they did the last 6 days, and in the past, we needed to have a balance between both." Andre Tourigny also said of the depth of the defensemen, "All of our D are really good defensively. I like the makeup of our D core a lot." Now, on setting the roster, Andre Tourigny said, "A lot behind the decision. We wanted to get our numbers and team and have time to spend as a team." That being said, Tourigny will have 3 practices before the quarantine in Edmonton. Those practices have now been had, and they are now in quarantine in Edmonton. So, as per Alan Miller, these players can come in and out. They are interchangeable, he says, based on the roster and how it's going to work in the tournament. So Andre Tourigny then spoke about how strong this group has potential to be, saying, "My expectation is to have a really good practice today. We want to win the gold medal." Now, Alan Miller said on the players that jumped out during training camp, pleased with the 3 goalies that made the roster. He also said players he was pleased with included Justin Barron, Caden Gooley, Dylan Holloway, and Alex Newhook. Now, Newhook and Holloway made the roster after only a couple games, whereas Tristan Lennox had a whole week. So you see the impact that players like this can make. And then obviously Devin Levy, who posted a shutout in his first scrimmage game with the main group, which was only 3 days in to the NCAA kids' first appearance with the main group of the national team. So Andre Tourigny then stressed the importance of balance as the team enters another quarantine at Edmonton, which they're now in, saying, "We can push, but can't push to break." So Alan Miller then spoke on Peyton Krebs, who had 9 points in 4 scrimmage games during selection camp, saying, "He plays the game the right way. Krebs is a real good young player." Now, Alan Miller was worked in the WHL, so he's familiar with some of these players. Andre Tourigny then spoke on Justin Barron, saying that it's tough to split them, referring to his pairing with Caden Gooley. He said, "I think here at the camp he was rock solid with his pairing with Gooley. He brings that strength on the back end," and he certainly does. And for Barron, this World Juniors, this naming this year was a long time coming for that story. You can read at thepuckauthority.com. I did a full out story on what this means to him, his struggles in getting here. That can be found again at thepuckauthority.com and barnburn.ca. So Alan Miller then spoke about what makes these players gel in such short time periods, to which he said, when you get into these environments, you need to accept a lesser role. Something happens when they put on that jersey. Now, Andre Torini then spoke on Jamie Drysdale, a returning player from last year. He said, I like the combo together with Bo and Byram. Both of them can move the puck and can push the pace. Jamie has a great hockey sense. He wants to be perfect in everything. Now, Andre Torini then spoke about Jack Quinn, who makes the World Juniors roster for his very first time. He said, Jack put in a lot of effort. He can do a lot on the ice. Miller then spoke about Caden Gooley, in which he said, Gooley had a good camp, and that he did. He really impressed, I think, defensively at the very most. Then Andre Torini spoke about the Gooley pairing with Barron, saying right now it's tough to split them. So that really wrapped up that press conference. But again, a lot of positives came out of that. So really that wraps up this episode of the OHL experience, rather the World Juniors experience, right here on the Barn Burner TV network and Zingo TV channel 250. For additional updates, make sure you are following along at Justin Levine HBS, at Barn Burner Net for continuous episodes of the World Juniors experience. You can follow along at thepuckauthority.com. I mean, we're going to be covering this extensively, the best way we know how to. I should have an update as to what that will look like next week. By next Wednesday, once exhibition games get underway, which should be, I think, right before games get underway. That is 48 hours before games get underway. So with 4 minutes left, I'm just going to read a couple comments from the press conference with Dylan Holloway and Caden Gooley. Caden Gooley said on making the team as an 18-year-old, it's a dream come true. He then said on being paired with Justin Barron, he's real easy to play with. He's always open and there for support. Dylan Holloway Dylan Holloway said that his mom was on FaceTime to break the news to him, and that's how he found out with a knock on the door from Hockey Canada that he made the roster, saying she broke the news. It's a dream come true. He then said on representing Canada close to his home in Edmonton, to think I could possibly be playing there in the future in the Oilers dressing room in Rogers Arena, it's pretty special. Holloway then said on the selection camp process this year, different from last year, it's different from sure. Even during quarantine, we had a lot of team meetings and team builders. I'm happy it's over and we can focus on the team and win gold. So with 2 minutes left, I'm just going to touch on two more things. Dylan Holloway also spoke about playing and competing with kids closer to his age, as opposed to the NCAA where it's a variety, saying, very excited. Anytime you can throw the maple leaf on, it's a huge honor. Now, Caden Gooley said on his improvement in the offseason, I'm a lot more powerful with my first step. Definitely helps to put on that extra weight. Now, Caden Gooley said on being teammates of Peyton Krebs, who are opponents in the WHL, it's good to be on his side and watch him do his thing. So, that being said, Gooley spoke about the 21st round picks in this year's World Juniors squad, saying this is definitely one of the very special Team Canadas that has been assembled. Then Ryan Suzuki and Connor Zary followed at the podium, and Ryan Suzuki followed that same notion, saying it was a childhood dream come true. Connor Zary then spoke about how he made the team, saying, I woke up pretty early this morning. I got the knock at the door from Hockey Canada management and coaches. Bear handed me his phone, and it was my family. Them being here is why I'm here. So with 1 minute left in today's show, I'm just going to read out another quick quote. Ryan Suzuki then spoke about how he found out he made the team, saying, my dad doesn't have an iPhone, so it was just a phone call from me. So that does it for today's episode of the OHL Experience. For continuous coverage on the World Juniors as it starts to go ahead starting next week on Friday, please follow me on Twitter at Justin Levine HBS, at BarnBurnerNet, at Puck Authority 1, and at thepuckauthority.com for all your extensive coverage, as well as the Puck Authority podcast for continuous insight, updates, and more. So that does it for me. My name is Justin Levine HBS. On Twitter, I'm Justin Levine, and this is another episode on Barn Burner TV Network and Zingo TV channel 250 of the OHL Experience. Signing off.